Have you ever looked at your to-do list and felt like no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to finish anything? No matter how many times you try, it's like you're always a step behind. You start one task only to be distracted by another, then another, and suddenly hours have passed, but nothing's done. You tell yourself it's just bad time management, but deep down you wonder, what if it's not laziness? What if it's something bigger, something you've been unknowingly living with, like adult ADHD? That constant feeling of being overwhelmed, the battle against your own mind to stay focused, it's exhausting. You want to do better, you want to keep up, yet every task feels like an uphill climb, no matter how small it seems to others. It's not just about being disorganized or procrastinating. For many adults, it's a deeper, more persistent struggle, a constant noise in the background, an internal chaos that makes simple things feel impossible. ADHD isn't just a condition for children. It doesn't magically disappear as we grow older. In fact, it can morph and shift, often going unnoticed until adulthood. Many adults live with the symptoms of ADHD for years, if not decades, never realizing that their struggles with time management, focus, and emotional regulation are rooted in something they might not even have known existed. This video aims to dive deep into how ADHD affects the lives of adults, not just in their work or relationships, but also in their emotional well-being. We'll explore the challenges, the frustrations, and the invisible weight that many carry. But more importantly, we'll discuss the strategies that can help anyone with ADHD reclaim control of their life. It's not about erasing the struggle, but learning to navigate it. And maybe, just maybe, finally understanding that you're not alone.
When most people think of ADHD, they imagine a hyperactive child bouncing off the walls, struggling to sit still in class. It's the image of a kid who can't focus for more than 5 minutes, who's always fidgeting, always distracted. But that's just the stereotype. What if I told you that this image of ADHD isn't the whole truth? In fact, it's only part of the story, and it's the part that often gets ignored when it comes to adults. ADHD doesn't magically disappear when we grow up. It changes, it evolves, but it doesn't go away. For adults with ADHD, the struggle is often invisible. It's not about running around, but about trying to fight the fog that clouds your thoughts, the constant battle to focus, to remember, to organize. It's like trying to work with 1,000 tabs open in your brain, and each time you try to close one, another pops up. ADHD in adults doesn't always look like the child version. It's not always about being hyperactive or impulsive. For many, it manifests as chronic disorganization, forgetfulness, or a never-ending cycle of procrastination. It's losing your keys again, forgetting an important deadline, or walking into a room and completely forgetting why you're there. For others, it's struggling to stay engaged during a conversation, zoning out, or finding it impossible to finish projects no matter how much you care about them. But it goes beyond these surface symptoms. ADHD in adults often involves emotional regulation challenges. You might find yourself reacting impulsively, feeling easily frustrated, or struggling to manage stress. It's more than just being distracted. It's a neurobiological condition that impacts how your brain processes information and manages tasks. Here's the thing. Many adults don't even realize they have ADHD. They go through life feeling like they're always missing the mark or failing, never understanding why it's so much harder for them to stay on top of things. It's only later in life, often after years of struggle, that they get a diagnosis. And even then, it's not always easy to accept. In fact, late diagnoses of ADHD in adults have been on the rise. Studies show that 2 to 4% of adults receive their ADHD diagnosis well into adulthood, and these are just the people who know. The true number could be much higher, as many adults still face the stigma or the misunderstanding that ADHD is only a childhood issue.
Imagine being handed a big project at work. You know it's important. The deadline is coming up, but for some reason, you just can't bring yourself to start it. It's not that you're lazy or unmotivated. In fact, you're probably working harder than most, trying to find the energy or the focus to get things done. But the task feels overwhelming, and your mind starts to wander. You check your phone, you start another task that doesn't even matter. Days go by and the project still sits unfinished, even as the deadline inches closer. That's the struggle of procrastination for adults with ADHD. For them, procrastination isn't a matter of laziness. It's a mental block that's tied to ADHD. The inability to start tasks, especially when they seem overwhelming or lack immediate urgency, is a key symptom. It's the feeling of being paralyzed by the task at hand, even when you know it needs to get done. Research shows that adults with ADHD are more likely to experience chronic procrastination, which leads to stress, missed deadlines, and feelings of shame. What's worse is that this procrastination cycle can drain a person's energy, making it even harder to focus on the next task. The emotional toll, exhaustion, frustration, and a constant feeling of inadequacy, as though no matter how much you try, you can't keep up with your peers. Now, imagine another scenario. You're at your desk, surrounded by a mountain of papers, emails, and to-do lists. You know there are important documents you need, but where are they? You shuffle through a pile of papers looking for that one email, that one note, but it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. And by the time you find it, the moment is lost. This is a typical day for someone with ADHD at work. ADHD in the workplace often means struggling with disorganization. It's not just about messy desks. It's the inability to create and maintain systems that help you stay on top of things. Important emails get buried, deadlines get missed, tasks get abandoned halfway through because the process feels too chaotic to manage. For adults with ADHD, staying organized at work can feel like an impossible task, especially when everything feels like it's happening at once. Take Jane, for example. She's a manager at a tech company. She's incredibly intelligent, capable, but she can't keep track of meetings, emails, or documents. She finds herself scrambling to catch up, apologizing for missed deadlines, or explaining why she didn't have the information others expected. But it's not that Jane isn't trying, it's that the systems others take for granted just don't work for her. She's not lazy, but ADHD makes it harder for her to stay organized, and that's a painful, exhausting reality. Now let's talk about corporate environments. These are places where efficiency, multitasking, and the ability to stay focused for long periods of time are highly valued. But for someone with ADHD, these very expectations can feel like a minefield. In a meeting, information is being thrown at you from all sides. Ideas are flying, and you're struggling to keep up. You try to stay focused, but your mind starts to drift. You feel lost in the conversation, unable to contribute effectively. And by the time the meeting ends, you feel mentally drained, even though nothing has really been accomplished. For adults with ADHD, this can be a daily reality in the workplace. The constant flow of information, the need to switch between tasks rapidly, and the pressure to stay focused for long periods of time create an environment where staying productive becomes an uphill battle. It's not about a lack of intelligence or capability. It's about how the ADHD brain processes information differently. And then there's the issue of impulsivity. In corporate settings, impulsive comments or actions can disrupt the flow of communication. Interrupting others, speaking out of turn, or offering unfiltered opinions can create tension in the workplace. But these behaviors aren't necessarily about a lack of professionalism. They're often a symptom of ADHD that others might not understand. Research also highlights the challenges ADHD presents in these environments. A survey found that 30% of professionals with ADHD report difficulties maintaining focus during meetings or presentations, and many face difficulties in multitasking or staying organized, making corporate environments even more overwhelming.
Now, let's step outside the workplace and look at the personal side of life. For many adults with ADHD, social interactions can feel like walking through a minefield. During conversations, their mind races, jumping from one thought to the next, never quite staying on track. It's not that they don't care. In fact, they likely care deeply about the person they're talking to, but as they listen, their attention drifts. Maybe they miss an important detail or they find themselves zoning out entirely. And when that happens, it's easy for the other person to feel neglected or misunderstood. Imagine being in a conversation with a partner or friend, and halfway through, you realize you've completely missed what they just said. You're too embarrassed to ask them to repeat themselves, so you nod along, but your mind is somewhere else. They don't know this, but they might start feeling like you're disengaged or uninterested. This disconnect can build frustration, resentment, and feelings of emotional distance. But the person with ADHD isn't intentionally tuning out. Their brain simply can't maintain focus long enough to stay engaged fully. Over time, these communication difficulties take their toll. For someone with ADHD, this cycle of missed conversations and misunderstood intentions can lead to social isolation. It's a quiet, insidious withdrawal. They might avoid social situations altogether because the effort of staying present and engaged feels too exhausting. Worse, the fear of letting someone down or saying the wrong thing might lead them to pull away even more. In romantic relationships, this can be particularly painful. A partner might feel like they're competing with the chaos in the other person's mind, constantly vying for attention that never stays long enough. And because ADHD often comes with emotional dysregulation, impulsive outbursts or emotional reactions might further complicate matters. An offhand comment might be taken the wrong way, leaving the other person hurt or confused. The ADHD partner doesn't always mean to be dismissive or sharp, but their struggle with focus, control, and self-regulation can make it seem that way. Emotionally, this creates a sense of inadequacy, a belief that they're not good enough for their partner or friends. This constant inner turmoil leads to feelings of being misunderstood or unworthy, which over time can deepen the emotional distance in relationships. It's a painful cycle of trying and failing to connect, of trying to be present but feeling like you're always just a little too far away. ADHD doesn't just affect romantic relationships, it can also deeply impact family dynamics. When one parent has ADHD, it often leads to a disorganized household. Daily routines become harder to maintain, and simple tasks like remembering to pick up groceries or keeping track of appointments feel like monumental challenges. Take the example of Sarah, a mother of two. She's diagnosed with ADHD, but while that diagnosis helps her understand her struggles, it doesn't eliminate them. Her kids, especially her youngest, also have ADHD, which adds another layer of unpredictability to family life. Their home feels chaotic. School projects are left unfinished, appointments are missed, and everything feels like it's happening last minute. For Sarah, it's not about not caring. She deeply loves her children and wants the best for them. But the lack of routine and the overwhelming number of tasks she needs to manage without clear structures often leaves her feeling like she's falling short. She tries hard to keep things in order, but the constant sense of being overwhelmed can lead to frustration, guilt, and sometimes even shame. And then there's the emotional impact. As a parent with ADHD, Sarah might feel like she's failing her kids, like she's not meeting the standards of what a good parent should be. This can lead to feelings of guilt, inadequacy, and frustration, a cycle that becomes harder to break without the right strategies in place.
For adults with ADHD, the emotional toll of constantly feeling like they're falling short can be immense. The missed deadlines, the disorganization, the inability to focus, it all adds up over time, creating a narrative of inadequacy. They begin to internalize these struggles, leading to self-doubt and harsh self-criticism. It's not just about the things they can't get done, it's the feeling that they are fundamentally flawed. Imagine working on a project for weeks only to feel like you're nowhere near finished, or receiving criticism at work that hits deeper than it should. Those with ADHD often take these setbacks personally. It's not just about the task that didn't get completed, it's about the belief that they are lazy or incompetent. This self-criticism spirals into negative thinking. Why can't I just focus like everyone else? Why is it so much harder for me? And before long, it can lead to feelings of shame, self-hatred, and a belief that they're not living up to their potential. That internal narrative can become a vicious cycle. The more someone with ADHD criticizes themselves, the harder it becomes to break free from that mindset. The tasks seem harder, the mental load feels heavier, and it becomes even more challenging to find the motivation to do anything at all. It's a constant uphill battle, and the emotional cost is high. Because ADHD is often accompanied by chronic stress, anxiety, and depression, the emotional toll can be overwhelming. The stress of always being behind, of constantly struggling to catch up, can trigger feelings of anxiety. The worry of missing deadlines or disappointing others becomes a constant companion. These anxieties are not just about one missed meeting, they compound over time, building into an ever-growing mountain of worry. ADHD adults often feel like they're walking on a tightrope, constantly worried that a mistake will tip them over the edge. This worry can turn into chronic anxiety, making everyday tasks feel unbearable. It's the fear of failure, the dread of not being good enough, or the overwhelming sense of being lost. These feelings can then snowball into depression, especially if they've struggled for years without a diagnosis or understanding of what's going on. Take David, for example. He had spent years struggling with his ADHD, not knowing what was happening. He missed deadlines, felt isolated from friends, and constantly felt like he was failing. This led to depression. His world felt heavy, like he was trudging through mud every day, unable to catch up. Only after his ADHD diagnosis did he realize the root cause of his struggles. But even with the diagnosis, the mental toll of years of unrecognized struggles was hard to overcome. One of the biggest challenges for adults with ADHD is the lack of early recognition. Many adults live for years without ever realizing they have ADHD, simply attributing their struggles to personal failings or just bad habits. But as they grow older, the symptoms can become harder to ignore. The missed opportunities, the failed relationships, the career setbacks, these all add up, and many adults begin to wonder why they can't get it right. And when the diagnosis finally comes, it's a bittersweet moment. On one hand, there's relief. There's finally an answer to the years of confusion and frustration. But on the other hand, there's regret. Regret for all the years they spent struggling, all the opportunities they missed, thinking it was their fault, when in reality, it was a neurodevelopmental disorder they didn't even know existed. A diagnosis later in life can be a mix of clarity and sadness. Clarity because it explains the struggles they've faced for so long, but sadness because of all the time lost without the right support. It's not just about understanding the condition, it's about understanding what could have been different if they only had known sooner.
For many adults with ADHD, medication plays a crucial role in managing symptoms. The brain of someone with ADHD processes certain neurotransmitters, like dopamine and norepinephrine, differently, which can affect focus, impulse control, and the ability to stay organized. Medications, particularly stimulants like Adderall or Ritalin, help regulate these neurotransmitters, leading to better focus and reduced impulsivity. But medications aren't a cure-all. While they can significantly improve symptoms, they aren't a magic fix. It's a delicate balance, finding the right medication and dosage that works for each person. Some individuals respond well to stimulants, while others may need non-stimulant medications like Strattera or guanfacine, which take longer to take effect but still help manage symptoms. However, medication must be carefully monitored. Finding the right balance can take time, and the process involves trial and error. There are also side effects to consider, like sleep issues or mood swings. And for those with a history of substance abuse, stimulant medications can carry a risk of misuse. Therefore, it's essential to work closely with a healthcare provider to find the right approach for each individual. While medication is an essential tool, it's only one piece of the puzzle. Medication alone doesn't address the full scope of ADHD. It's just a way to level the playing field. It helps, but it's the other strategies that allow adults with ADHD to thrive. In addition to medication, behavioral therapies are incredibly effective in managing ADHD. CBT is one of the most common and successful treatments for adults with ADHD. CBT focuses on identifying and changing negative thought patterns and behaviors that lead to procrastination, disorganization, and emotional dysregulation.
Through CBT, individuals can learn how to break tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, creating a structure that makes large projects feel less overwhelming. They learn how to set realistic goals, practice time management techniques, and reframe the way they think about their productivity and ability to focus. CBT also helps with emotional regulation. People with ADHD can be impulsive or quick to react, but CBT helps them pause and rethink before acting, which is crucial in both professional and personal settings. It teaches the individual to respond rather than react, a skill that can significantly improve relationships and reduce the emotional stress caused by ADHD. In addition to CBT, ADHD coaching can be an invaluable resource. ADHD coaches work with individuals to develop strategies tailored to their unique needs, from setting daily routines to developing systems for staying organized. They act as a support system, holding individuals accountable and helping them implement practical changes to improve their daily lives. Mindfulness is another powerful tool for managing ADHD. For someone with ADHD, the mind can feel like a whirlwind of thoughts, constantly jumping from one thing to the next. Mindfulness helps slow that down, focusing attention on the present moment. It's a simple concept, but incredibly effective for reducing impulsivity and increasing focus. Through practices like meditation, breathing exercises, or even mindful walking, adults with ADHD can build better self-awareness and develop the ability to refocus when distractions arise. Mindfulness also helps with emotional regulation. It enables individuals to pause, breathe, and recalibrate before reacting emotionally, which can reduce stress, anxiety, and outbursts that often accompany ADHD. Physical exercise is equally important. Research shows that regular exercise, particularly aerobic exercise, can boost dopamine levels in the brain, helping to improve focus, memory, and mood. Exercise also releases endorphins, which reduce anxiety and stress, two common struggles for adults with ADHD. Exercise isn't just good for the body, it's good for the mind. It helps alleviate the restlessness and hyperactivity that often accompany ADHD. Something as simple as running, swimming, or even cycling can make a huge difference in how someone with ADHD feels and functions on a day-to-day basis. Of course, one of the most crucial elements in managing ADHD is support. This comes not only from healthcare providers, but from friends, family, and colleagues. Having a solid support network can make all the difference when navigating the challenges of ADHD. At home, family members who understand ADHD can help by providing gentle reminders, organizing family routines, or simply offering encouragement. Partners can learn to communicate more effectively, giving their loved ones space to process information or avoid getting frustrated when things don't go according to plan. In the workplace, it's essential to advocate for the necessary accommodations. Many adults with ADHD benefit from a quieter workspace, more frequent check-ins, or adjusted deadlines. Understanding colleagues can offer feedback without judgment, helping an individual with ADHD feel supported rather than misunderstood. Ultimately, the key is to build a network of support, whether it's professional, familial, or peer-based, that can help someone with ADHD manage their condition and create an environment that allows them to thrive. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it with anyone who might benefit from hearing this message. Subscribe to the channel for more insightful content, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. If you've been navigating life with ADHD or suspect you might be, drop a comment below and share your journey or any questions you have. Together, we can build a supportive community where we help each other thrive. Throughout this video, we've explored the far-reaching impact that ADHD can have on adult life. From the workplace, where procrastination, disorganization, and missed deadlines often lead to feelings of inadequacy, to personal relationships, where communication struggles and emotional regulation challenges can create distance between loved ones. ADHD doesn't just affect productivity, it affects emotional well-being, self-esteem, and the very way we interact with the world. We've seen how ADHD often goes undiagnosed, and how many adults struggle for years feeling like they're falling short without understanding why. But it's important to remember, ADHD isn't a character flaw. It's a neurobiological condition that affects the brain's ability to process and prioritize information. And with the right tools and strategies, adults with ADHD can learn to manage their symptoms and lead fulfilling lives. But there's hope. While ADHD presents significant challenges, it also comes with opportunities for growth and improvement. With medication, therapy, mindfulness, exercise, and a strong support network, it's possible to transform these challenges into strengths. It's not about erasing the symptoms of ADHD, it's about learning how to live with them, to manage them, and to thrive despite them. ADHD doesn't define you. It's just one part of your story. And if you've been struggling, know that seeking help, whether through a diagnosis, therapy, or medication, is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. Understanding how your brain works is the first step toward taking control of your life.